Hey guys, here we are at CES 2015. I'm Justin, this is Peter, and we just got done seeing some really cool stuff from Oculus. It's not entirely new. They have a new they have the Crescent Bay device here, which we saw at Oculus Connect early last year, but they've added some new things to this one, and you didn't get to try it last year, and they've added some 3D virtual audio. But with the new introductions to the hardware itself, what do you think about the experience now? You've gone through a lot of iterations of the 3D.
Yeah, I've been using Oculus Rift since the first demo when it was really like low resolution, like nothing was really right. They've come a really long way. And even though that not much has changed on paper since the demo that you did at Oculus Connect, they've added now 3D audio. And as Palmer Luckey always says, one of the creators of the Oculus, actually the creator, everything you do is sort of like a house of cards, right? You need every little thing to fall into place. So the 3D audio really does sort of continue to build that house of cards and that immersion. So now when you move in space, you know, if there's fire crackling over here, your orientation really just sort of, you know, it tells your brain where that is in space. And even though you're not seeing it, you can tell where that is, just like in the real world. So as VR is growing, things like this make a big difference. And yeah, it's just one little change, but for me, it did make a large difference. I thought it was much better.
Yeah, I mean, with regular surround sound audio, you're going to hear that all around you, but the way that they're pitching it, the way that the 3D audio works is that whether it's above you, whether it's below you, you're going to be able to sense that, you're going to be able to hear it, and know that it's something above you, it's something below you, which is necessary for a truly immersive 3D experience.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of different kinds of VR here at the show, but I mean, honestly, Oculus is the one that always really convinces me that there's a future for virtual reality.
Yeah, and I think one of the more important things for people to realize is that until you've really tried like the latest iteration of Oculus's headset, you cannot grasp just by someone explaining it to you how good it is. One of the demos that they had with this 3D audio, it ran you through a bunch of different scenarios, and you're on sort of like a raised platform. Then they cut to this demo where you're on the top of a building in the middle of a city, and you're essentially like a foot away from the edge, and they're like, okay, take a step out. And you can feel the edge of this platform on the bottom of your foot, and as you lean over, the sound of the city feels as though it's in the proper space. You feel that relationship to being so far up.
You get a realistic sense of vertigo of looking down 30, 40 stories.
Yeah, one of our colleagues, one of our camera people, would not take the step off the ledge because she was so convinced that, not that it was reality, but that, you know, her sort of fight or flight response kicked in and she couldn't do it. I took the step, and it was invigorating in like the worst but coolest way possible, because it kind of proves like how effective these things are, and I guess how viable, you know, Oculus is among all the VR headsets.
And it looks like we're getting a lot closer to a consumer model, but we don't know when this is going to come out. We still don't have a firm date, and we still don't know how input is going to work for a system like this.
Yeah, Oculus is definitely still working on input, but when it comes to the headset, they basically said the feature set they have right now is essentially solidified. So when the consumer version comes, you're going to expect basically the same thing we've experienced at the show.
So even though we don't know when this consumer version is coming out, we do have the Samsung Gear VR, which is showing us a brief glimpse of some of the future, and that's available right now. And one really cool thing that we saw was kind of like not an interactive trailer, but sitting in for Wild. Reese Witherspoon is starring in a movie called Wild, coming out later this year, and you got to see kind of a scene that was made for the movie, and you're sitting in it, and it's a very immersive way to experience a trailer that we really haven't seen before.
Yeah, it was a companion piece. It was shot with a 360-degree camera, so you can look all around you and experience the entire scene. It starts off with her narrating. She walks up to you, sits on a log. You're focused on her until she looks towards you, and you realize that, wait, well, why is she looking at me? You turn around, or maybe you've already looked, and there sits her mother. And it's just this use of misdirection, and it's all those little elements coming together to convince you that you're a part of this scene. You want to look at her, and then you're sort of led to like see this other thing. And it you know, misdirection is a thing that's used in games and film, or I guess in games more effectively, but this was a really interesting way to experience that in a film, and to see that kind of come to life on a phone with the 3D audio coming out of that on the headset. I mean, for $200, you can get that from Samsung right now, and you can experience these sort of things. And I just think that's great. So VR is really starting to kick itself into high gear. You have companies like Razer who are offering open source stuff to continue the movement, get it in more developers' hands. Exciting times are ahead, for sure.
And that's the exciting thing about CES this year. It's incremental upgrades to VR. Nothing really, really big, but it's really exciting to see where it's going.